Hello everyone and welcome back to Frankie's Cantonese Book Reviews. The book series I'm going to be reviewing today is the Sidney Lau series of textbooks that was originally published in the late 1960s, early 1970s. Now I've got a lot of messages and a lot of requests to do this series of textbooks, so here it is. The Sidney Lau series of textbooks is the most comprehensive series of Cantonese textbooks that have ever been published, and that's still available today. The series can be broken up into 6 different volumes. 2 elementary, 2 intermediate, and 2 advanced. So the first one here is Elementary Cantonese Volume I, which has lessons 1 to 10. And then there's Elementary Cantonese Volume II, which has lessons 11 to 20. I lent that to my students, so I don't have it. And then we have the next level, Intermediate Cantonese Volume I, which has lessons 21 to 30. And then Intermediate Cantonese Volume II, which has lessons 31 to 40. And then the next level, Advanced Cantonese Volume I, which has lessons 41 to 56. And then Advanced Cantonese Volume II, which has lessons 57 to 70. Now, on top of these 6 textbooks, there are 3 reference books that were published. The first one, and the most important one, is A Practical Cantonese English Dictionary by Sidney Lau. This was published after all the textbooks. And then there's 2 reference volumes. One of them is called, I don't have them, so I'm going to read it off the back here. One of them is called the Cantonese English Cantonese Glossary for the elementary level, and then the Cantonese English Cantonese Glossary for the intermediate level. So what does that really mean, glossary? Basically what it is, it's the dictionary that has all the vocab of the elementary level. So those 2 elementary volumes have a little dictionary all to themselves. And then the 2 intermediate books also have a little glossary, a dictionary all to themselves. Again, I don't own it. And something else odd to note, when they reprinted the books, they didn't print the name of the first intermediate volume on the binding, which is kind of weird. So when they're on my bookshelf, I just have one blank book. It's weird. If you can find one with the name on it, then it means it's probably one of the original pressings. So that's quite good. So try to get that if you can. So Sidney Lau developed these textbooks and invented his own romanization system. The early 70s, late 60s is around the time when there was a lot of interest in learning Cantonese. Hong Kong was booming, the economy was good, and so a lot of people from the United Kingdom were moving to Hong Kong, and they wanted to be police officers. And so I think that the primary reason that these books were written or developed was so that people who wanted to be Hong Kong police officers in the Royal Hong Kong Police would have a textbook to learn Cantonese. I don't remember that much more about Sidney Lau off the top of my head, and I don't think there's that much information about him online. But anyway, let's get into the textbooks. Let's see how they look. So the Sidney Lau textbooks use their own romanization system. They don't have tone markers, they have tone numbers, and it's a 6-tone system. So that means that high falling tone that sometimes is emphasized or highlighted in certain textbooks is not highlighted in here. So if I open to Lesson 1, you can see number 4. It says 幾好你有心這太太這小姐好嗎? And you can see that there is the Sidney Lau romanization on top, followed by the Chinese characters below it, and then to the side you have very well, thank you, how are you? And that is written obviously in English. So everything in the textbook is pretty much like this. This is the greetings chapter, apparently. And this is the text. And then when you flip over, then there's the vocabulary section, which breaks down basically all of the vocabulary. So you can see it says 我, pronoun I, me, 你, pronoun you, singular, 佢, pronoun him, her, she, her, he, him, she, her, it. I would just say, he, she, it. Anyway. And then they is the pluralizer. It makes something plural. I'm sure you know that if you know anything about Cantonese. So this book is broken up into 10 chapters. Now, each chapter deals with a different topic. Let's take a look and see if I can find it. I did not bookmark it. Sorry about that. Here we go. So, greetings is chapter 1. Chapter 2 is positive, negative, verb type questions. That would be something like, is he or is he not American? 佢係唔係美國人? Lesson 3 is ma. Again, now see, that's a little bit of an archaic thing. So, 你好嗎? 你食飯嗎? It's not so commonly used anymore, but again, it makes sense. Chapter 4 is positive, negative, adjective type questions. Lesson 5 is demonstratives, classifiers, and nouns. So that's probably like 一個人,一架車, something like that, like the measure words. Lesson 6 is positive, negative, auxiliary verb type questions. And then lesson 7 is aspects of tense. Lesson 8 is potential mood, which is probably like 我覺得 something, I feel something. Number 9 is lesson 9 rather is direct object and indirect object, and lesson 10 is questions with an opposite tag. And then it keeps going. Obviously, there's lesson 11, and then it goes all the way up to lesson 70. Now, the elementary volume and the intermediate volumes, if you notice, are very thick. They're quite thick. And then when you look at the advanced volumes, they're not. Why is that? Well, because once you've reached the advanced level, there's not so much of a grammatical explanation that's required anymore. Basically, it's just vocabulary lists and dialogues, because all of the grammar is explained in the first 4 volumes, and so by the time you get to the advanced level, you don't really need a grammatical explanation. And I can tell you that you can look at the dialogues, they're like long. And then you have the dictionary, and the dictionary is a little interesting. It will have the the Chinese character 很 hate, number 1128, tone 6, which is the low tone. Hate, noun, hatred, classifier 种, which is type. And so then you'll have it, there'll be like a line, so it's probably 很都入骨, and then 很是 a disappointing matter. So the little line means that you just use that character. So instead of printing the character like every time for the entry, it just prints it once and then puts a line. You're just supposed to guess, okay, it's hun something. This dictionary is quite good. It's reliable, but it's rare, and it's heavy. These books, believe it or not, are still published. They're still reprinted by the Hong Kong government press, but they're hard to find. I found this volume in Boston at a Chinese language school. Another volume I found in New York at a Chinese bookshop in Manhattan, Chinatown, and then the intermediate and the advanced books, I purchased those in Hong Kong at Swinton Books. I will put a link in the description. Swinton Books can still order these books, so if you're in Hong Kong and you want to buy these books, I think Swinton Books is your best bet. You have to go into the shop, you have to order them, well, they have to make a requisition, or they have to fill out some paperwork, and then they'll order the books, and you have to pay for them in advance, and then once they get them, you can come and pick them up. There's also a website that sells the books, and they ship internationally, but I've never used it before. I'm still missing a couple volumes of the book, so I might do that as well. But let's talk about the books a little bit more in detail. The books are dated. They're 40 years old. So there's a lot of really archaic phrasings and archaic vocabulary in the books. That's where these books fall short. They're comprehensive. They have really good grammatical explanations. A lot of the vocab is quite good. It's standard Cantonese, very useful, very great, but there's a lot of old vocab. There's a lot of phrases that aren't said anymore. If you said them, people would understand, but it'd be like, what are you, 70 years old or something like that. And so these books need to be revised. The person who owns the rights to these books is Sidney Lau's son, and he has no urge to revise the books. Personally, I revise the books as I go through them, and when I use them in my lessons, they're very good. But at the same time, I'm not sure if, even if I offered it to do it for free, if his son would feel interested in revising these books at all. So my point being, if you want to take advantage of these textbooks, you honestly need to go through them with a native speaker first, who can tell you, well, no, we don't say it this way anymore, we say it this way. A really good example is when you're doing time in Cantonese. If you want to say 15-minute increment, you can say yakogwat, which is like one bone, I guess. But they don't really say that very often in Hong Kong anymore. So if you say like sam dim yakogwat would be 3:15. Now they would just say sam dim sam go ji, sam dim dap sam. There's a few different ways to say that particular phrase, but that particular 3:15. But they don't say sam dim yakogwat. It's just not said anymore. And so if you go into the book and you learn this particular phrase and you say it, people will be like, A couple of my friends didn't even know what it meant. I was like, oh, okay, well then that definitely is not is not practical and not useful anymore. But anyway, that is the Sidney Lau series of textbooks published in the late 1960s, early 1970s. If you can get a copy, I would suggest that you do so. Again, they're very, very good. They explain things just so very well. And it's like back in a time where people really cared about authoring books, and they put a lot of time and effort, and they just have very few errors, except for the archaic vocabulary and phrasing. There's not that many errors in the book. Things are just explained so very well, much better than modern textbooks anyway. And again, so very comprehensive. The best way you can learn. Stories, vocabulary list, grammatical explanations, why you say it, when you say it, how you say it. It even tells you when, okay, so this word, the tone will change when you say it together with this word. And you just don't see that level of detail on any modern Cantonese textbooks. Those are just kind of like, you say it this way because that's the way that it is. This one is, you say it this way because of this, and this is the reason why. You know, it's a no-brainer. If you can get a copy of these books, definitely do so. They sometimes pop up on eBay. I saw a couple for like $1 or a couple dollars plus shipping, which is like $5. So you can get a copy of these books for like $6. The price in 2011, when they reprinted it, this one was 92 Hong Kong dollars, which is like 10, 11 US dollars. The dictionary doesn't have a price on it. I don't know how old it is. I mean, I don't know how much it would cost. More expensive. I bought this one at Swinton Books, and it was 119 Hong Kong dollars back a few years ago. This one was 104. I got this one from Swinton Books as well. And then these two advanced versions were also, this one was 92, and then this one was 62 Hong Kong dollars, of course, because I bought them in Hong Kong. So 62 is like, you know, I don't know, like $6 or $7, $8 maybe, $8 or $9, whatever. 92 is like $12, $11. So these books cost around $10, $11, $12, $13 each if you buy them in Hong Kong. A little bit more for the thicker versions. But generally speaking, these are really great books. I highly recommend them to anyone who's interested in learning Cantonese, but be warned, they have a lot of old vocabulary and old phrasing in them. You need a native speaker to go over it before you learn it and can trust it 100%. But there's no series of textbooks out there that has better grammatical explanations or that's written in more detail than the Sidney Lau series of textbooks. Thank you very much for watching. If you like my video, please give me a like. If you have a question or comments or concerns, post them down below. I'll always reply to my messages. I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.